You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the federal government has accused the leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, of planning to turn Nigeria into an Islamic state.
The government says the cleric had the full support of Iran to achieve this plan. The accusations were made in a counter affidavit the government filed against the IMN's motion challenging the Federal High Court's order of July 26, 2019, prescribing the group.
Now, he stated that El-Zakzaky was influenced by the Iranian Revolution, which led to the emergence of Ayatollah Khomeini as the Asian country's leader in 1979 after Shah was overthrown in a popular uprising.
Now I have a lawyer, Gani Fani, here in the studio to discuss this. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank God it's Friday, but let's get into the discussion now. Looking at this case between the standoff between the federal government and the IMN or Sheikh El-Zakzaky, on what grounds would you say is the federal government still detaining the Sheikh and prescribing the group?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, any person under the law who commits any crime or who is a suspect could be kept while investigation is ongoing. But then there are provisions of the law that says that such kind of being held while the investigation goes on there must be a reasonable time, at least to conclude your investigation and charge to court. So every other person who is legally minded like myself is expecting El-Zakzaky's days in court. That's just as simple as that.
But some analysts have said that it's the media, some persons will say that the fact that the federal government is detaining El-Zakzaky is a ticking bomb, and that the federal government should, probably find a way out. So what do you think would be the possible way out for the federal government in dealing with this issue?
I would look at it strictly from the legal viewpoint.
Okay.
A suspect who has committed a crime, so to speak, should be investigated and charged to court. The issue of probably becoming a ticking bomb or thereabout, well, that is the problem for at least the security agents to take care of. The only worry I have is that because of the numerous accusations, it could turn to a kind of propaganda that every time there must be one reason or the other why this man is being incarcerated. So I urge the government to quickly charge this man to court and then let him have his day and let the law take its course. It's just as simple as that.
But looking at the activities of the IMN, some persons would say that it's justifiable for the federal government to continue to detain him until investigations are concluded.
What we are saying is that for how many years would you conduct your investigation? It is getting too long. And at one time or the other, it has become a kind of melodrama. There must be something, because I heard from your news in a counter affidavit. You see, the man has his right to freedom under the Constitution. And that's exactly what is being exercised. And the federal government said, look, no, you want to turn Nigeria into an Islamic state. The laws are there to deal with all these issues. As far as I'm concerned, charge him to court if you have enough evidence and nail him. But when it comes by way of counter affidavit, and all sorts of objections, then it becomes burning to a person. When you hear this issue, it's as if the federal government has not established a particular basis for keeping El-Zakzaky in detention. So,
but looking at the activities, that even the Kaduna State government at one time declared that group, an illegal group in the state. So if you say that the federal government does not have a basis, of detaining him, how do you explain the activities of the IMN in Kaduna State and in some parts of the country?
What is the activities? What we are saying, there is nothing the law has not taken care of by way of maintaining law and order. Once you are caught infringing the law, then you are taken to court. There is no provision that somebody Because in actual fact, you should realize the fact that what the government is saying is that he's being kept for security reasons. And I always query that security reasons is quite nebulous. It is indefinable. So let the government pinpoint exactly. These are the sections of the law. There are statute books that deal with any form of crime. Take him to court, let him have his day, and let him be jailed. Right. Otherwise, when you keep repeating all these things, whether to go to India or not to go to India, whether to go to court or not to go to court, whether the government of Kaduna State will state reasons or conditions after a court had already legally and procedurally said, these are my conditions. Then you now want to, why are all these things happening? Then it becomes propaganda. And if you are not very careful, it will continue to now have sympathizers. That's always the case. It has become a virtual underdog.
But let's look at Kaduna State now. Residents, when Sheikh El-Zakzaky traveled, a lot of them said they could heave a sigh of relief, knowing that the federal government has acceded to some of the conditions that was given by the Sheikh's council. But looking at what the federal government is saying, alleging that there are plans to Islamize Nigeria, should Nigerians be worried about that? And what would be the federal government's way of assuring Nigerians that there are no plans, that what they have detaining El-Zakzaky, it's something that would defeat that notion that Nigerians should not be worried?
Nigeria is a secular state, expressly in the Constitution. If anybody is now trying to turn Nigeria to something else, it is the duty of the government to charge that person to court, and the situation is clear. That's the position of the law. The law is, once you are caught or once you are a suspect, you will be investigated. And upon investigation, if there are grounds why you have to be in court, and you can prove beyond reasonable doubt all those points you have raised, then the person will be jailed. So, but in a situation whereby somebody is kept behind bars and running to years, since 2015 or thereabout, it becomes something else. That every day there must be one reason or the other. It's like a propaganda when you cannot actually bring somebody into the dock and say, these are the evidence against you. As regards the residents of Kaduna State, I pity whoever might probably think that the answer to the issue is to keep the man perpetually behind bars. No, that's not the situation.
The issue around El-Zakzaky and all the controversies have been on for quite a while. But as it is right now, the government is coming up with reasons why he still cannot be left alone one way or the other. In the eyes of the law, where does it stand, especially when someone is seen as a risk to national security?
Maybe I need to put this in perspective because to start with, the federal government has approached the court to obtain another ex parte, stating reasons why the body IMN must be proscribed. And the court granted the order. Now, El-Zakzaky and the IMN, they are all going ahead now to challenge why it must not be so. And the federal government now is filing a counter affidavit to that one. That is where this particular issue has arisen, out of many. There have been some reasons given by the federal government that persuaded the court to grant the order ab initio. So it is not as if this is the only reason. My own worry is that, as far as I'm concerned, it will amount to a kind of propaganda. If all the time somebody is accused of committing an offense, and instead of allowing that person to face trial, all you do is to look for subterfuge all the time to ensure that that person is kept in detention against the procedure, at least the criminal procedure. Once somebody is adjudged to be a suspect, he has to be investigated. At the same time, charged to court.
Now, at the course of going through, if he is charged to court and these cases or these reasons or points that the federal government is bringing up, if there are issues to be, asked and all of that in court with evidences brought on the table, would it jeopardize national security at the course of his process? Is this something the government doesn't want to go into?
You see, the issue is that if you allege or somebody committing a crime, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
If you cannot, the court will not accede to whatever that you're asking the court to do. So the truth of the matter is that there is no two way to it. We are in a democracy. Anybody that commits offense must be brought before the law. Somebody cannot just be kept in captivity simply because of a nebulous allegation that, look, if we release him, there's going to be national security and the rest. It is not helping our laws to grow. Somebody needs to be made an example that, okay, this is how it is done. As it is, it's as if the federal government is using a kind of might, which is, to me, is unconstitutional, to keep this particular suspect behind bars.
Now, let's talk about the relations between Nigeria and Iran on this, because Iran has been on the front burner when it comes to this discourse now, because the allegation from the government is saying that Iran is supporting El-Zakzaky to turn Nigeria into an Islamic state. Talk to us from that window. How much of concern should this be to Nigerians?
As far as I'm concerned, if there is subversion, or you see that somebody is doing anything, as far as I'm concerned, the issue is that this matter must be brought before a law court. And you must be able to prove it. That is the basic issue as far as I'm concerned as a lawyer. You can't just continue to say, oh, it is Iran that is sponsoring a person. Once there is an evidence, the statute books are full of sanctions. If you have done anything wrong, that it is Iran that is trying to subvert your country. And here is a man that Iran is using. So that is just as far as I'm concerned.
So the entire solution, the ultimate solution here is government, go to court, prove your case, and if he's guilty, jail him or let him face the full wrath of the law. Is that
exactly.
it? Nothing more than
Otherwise, the man will be acquitted
Okay.
of all the offenses
All right.
that you are alleging.
Okay.